Good afternoon, everybody. It's Train Tuesday. It's me, James, and Janik. And we have a theme going today. We did not plan this, did we?
No, it was day of the merger T-shirts. One of them succeeded, and one of them did not.
Yeah. So, yeah. Other than that, it's funny that we picked that railroad. You've got the merger. We were talking about this earlier before the show. I've always liked that shouldn't paint so fast paint scheme. I just thought that was a cool one. And then mine, you can't really see it, but it's an older shirt with the last paint scheme BN had, and then that proposed paint scheme they never really did. Remember they did the kind of the hybrid of the Grinstein green version, and it never really happened. But
yeah, there was just the one unit that they did.
So we've got actually quite a bit to talk about today. We're gonna go over. We've got an extremely popular freight car that just about anybody in HO is going to want, and then we've got some ready to roll locomotives. So let's get started. Let me get the screen here so we can let people see what we're talking about. Hope everybody out there is having a good day and staying safe and with everything that's going on in the world right now. So hopefully you guys are doing okay. And let's see. I'm going to bring this up. And Janik, this is one that you and I were talking about earlier. Highly anticipated. These are the Genesis Trinity 3-bay covered hoppers. I can tell you from living out here in Illinois, these are everywhere right now. Give us a little bit of a background on these, the prototype information about the Trinity 3-bay hoppers.
Okay, well, I'm not a complete expert on these, but I know enough to scrape by. These were built by Trinity Rail starting in the 1990s, and the capacity on them is 5161 cubic feet, which is quite a lot compared to, say, your standard 4700 cubic foot hopper of the 1970s. These can carry quite a bit more. And so what you usually see these cars handling grain or other types of feed. So you see a lot of them in ADM service or Cargill. CSX, as you see there, used to have dedicated Grain Express painted cars, which I always thought was pretty cool. BNSF is another big user of these cars and runs them in solid sets of trains, and they just seem to show up everywhere in all kinds of different trains. It's a really common type of car. It's a modern car, and as we get more into this discussion, the Athearn model is an improved car over last time.
That's I know you did some changes, but tell us about that, because that's pretty cool. I mean, the original run was a great car anyways, and these are so common on American rails, well, Canadian too, rails right now. So what kind of improvements are we looking at?
So as some of you might know who have owned these cars in the past, it's a nicely detailed car, but it does have some issues with it as far as the assembly. Sometimes the assembly, especially around the end cages, it left a little bit to be desired. Oftentimes we would get samples in and the ladders were bent, or some of the stiffeners were bent on the inside of the end cages. And it's not a good look, especially on a Genesis car. And so what we did is we completely retooled that area of these cars to make it fit better. And I've seen the latest samples, which I believe we showed off the other week, and the assembly is a lot better. You can definitely tell everything is straight, everything is flush. It looks really nice now.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about these. I mean, right now in Illinois, and a lot of us that are in the Midwest, it's grain season. And you're just going to see these all over the place. And this is a great release. I mean, anybody modeling, what 1990s on up in United States and Canada is going to want to get these.
Yeah, that's a good point because as you see with the CP rail, they're definitely not limited to the United States as far as ownership. And I know that Theramex owns a fair number of the cars as well, so they're really all over North America that you could see these things.
Another thing too that we were talking about earlier, and this is kind of why I wore the shirt today. We done some changes with the BNSF prototype. Not only do we have the early BNSF from the 1995 era logo on, and then you've got the 2005 swoosh or wedge logo, but there's a little bit more to it than just a logo change, right?
Yeah, definitely. So when we went in and we were retooling these cars, like I said, so that they could be assembled better. And we noticed that there was a BNSF version in real life that we didn't have the right body for. And if you can zoom in on that photo there, BNSF started welding stiffeners onto the corners of some of their cars. I don't actually know why they did this. If anyone in the comments has any idea, please let us know. I'm assuming it was some kind of a structural weakness they were trying to correct, but I'm not sure. But anyways, we saw that version and we're like, oh, that's cool. Let's make a new body so that we can do that. And we did. And so now we have that new body where it's the BNSF with the stiffener brackets on it that we're offering this time for the first time.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I've actually got some prototype pictures here today. I'll show you in a little bit. And guys, went real quick. Thanks last week for your patience. We had a few hiccups in the background with our website. We've got some changes in the end that are going to make it easier for everybody involved. But just wanted to thank y'all for your patience on that. And we have had comments that when we do these live stream videos, it's hard sometimes to see on the screen. I totally understand that. If you go to the Athearn website, you can not only view the PDF, but you can download the PDF and print it out. That way you've got time to study it. And in the future, we'll talk about new releases. We'll make it brief. And at that point, it'll be available on the website for you to look at in detail. And then we'll just kind of hit a few of the high points every week and then talk about some of the other things we're working on. Back to you, Janik. These freight cars are cool. And like I said, you see them all over the United States and Canada right now.
Yeah.
I am going to go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say that I see them on the BNSF on the Watt bar. Usually I see the Borax cars. And then whenever we go out to Tehachapi, we always see the Worm in the morning, which is basically a solid set of the brown grain cars, and a lot of those are Trinities.
I got a picture here I'll share with y'all. This was taken a few years ago. Now, these aren't always the best. It's kind of neat that it's bracketed by the two older Pullman Standard Santa Fe era covered hoppers. This was taken in Galesburg a few years ago, and there's that early logo. Okay. Kind of a play on the original Santa Fe logo. And I don't know, I'm probably the minority. I kind of like the old logo. And of course, then again, I like the old heritage colors too. Haven't caught too many with the swoosh or wedge logo yet, but this was probably, I'd say 2016 in Galesburg on the Route 10 overpass. Great place to get some pictures of trains. Let's see. Get to those later. This is in Decatur a few years later, and that ADM car, I wish the picture was better. I saw the ADM logo on there, and I was like, "Ah, cool! I got to show this one." You can't quite see it, unfortunately. It's right here.
That's a neat shot. Still, some neat power there.
Yeah, I figured you'd like this picture right here because I see some scarlet and I see some gray. So
I'd rather see
Decatur's,
that than the Pacific patch.
What's that?
I'd rather see the HLCX than a Union Pacific patch.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, this was in Decatur, not too far from Waback Junction for the folks that are used to rail fanning in the Midwest. So it's another hot spot near me, and of course ADM has a facility there, so
okay.
It's not uncommon to see these Trinity cars there at all. And then last, here's some more of those. I'm going to go back. I like that old logo. I dig it. I guess it's retro now. That kind of seems weird to say, but this is in Peck Park in Galesburg, Illinois. This is a hot spot as well, where the former BN went over the former Santa Fe. Now they're just one big family. But yeah, exactly. And gives you an idea of what how common these cars are. So if you're modeling anything, from the 90s on up, I mean, these are very, very common. And I've noticed too, just the last few years of grain harvest, that I'm not seeing as many as the PS Pullman Standards anymore either. So get your pictures now. So the other thing that we've got to show today, and I mean, the Genesis cars, like I was saying to some folks earlier, the Genesis cars, they are very detailed. You've talked about the points that you've made them more resilient against breakage and things of that nature. Most guys that buy Genesis products, they usually leave them on their home layout because, let's face it, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever been part of a modular club or even just taken stuff to the club layout, it's usually the transport of said items that, have the risk of getting damaged more than anything. And so these might be good on a nice home layout. But the next thing we're going to show you is good for all the above, whether it be a club layout, a modular club layout, or, just operations. Sometimes you don't want to have super detailed stuff if you've got friends over for operations. And I'm going to bring this up. It's the SD60 under the ready to run line. And Janik, while I bring those pictures up, if you don't mind, maybe give us a quick overview of this locomotive.
Sure. You're going to put it up there on the screen then?
Yeah, let me get that ready here.
Okay. Yeah, well, the SD60, we've been getting a lot of requests for that ever since we released the SD50s fairly recently. Everyone wants SD60s after that. So we decided it was time.
Definitely was time. And we've got some lines here that we had a lot of you guys commenting on what to run if we did the SD60s again, and we were more than happy to help you out. First one we got there is the Oakway leasing, and that was really common for many years, wasn't it, Janet?
Well, yeah. I mean, you couldn't go to the Powder River Basin, and you couldn't watch coal trains without seeing a bunch of those for a time. They were extremely common. I think there was 100 of them.
And of course, with these being a new release, the cool news too is soundtracks. We've got sound in these too. That's the first time we've offered them in sound, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the first time with sound for the SD60. That's a good point.
And now the other thing too, and I see John's asking, and I'm going to assume so, but I want to ask the guy that does all the hard work. Do these have LED lights?
Yeah. So anything RTR and up, and a lot of the roundhouse too that we're releasing these days is going to have LEDs. A lot of people we're wondering why it took us so long to switch. And one of the reasons why is that we wanted to use up, the stock of light bulbs that we had on hand. But as it stands now, we don't have that many on hand, and they're not being made anymore. So that's why it's LEDs from now on going forward.
Yeah, that's good to know. I mean, the LEDs just look so much better on the equipment. They have a much more realistic warmth, I guess you could say, to them. They just have a much better feel to them, and just all the way around so much better. So yeah, these aren't just a regular re-release, and it's not just we're doing more road names and road numbers. There's been some improvements in that, and those two improvements alone are worth their weight right there. So we've also got some Norfolk Southern in some patch jobs. Based on your comment you said earlier, this is kind of like revenge for you. You got a Norfolk Southern patch UP.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite versions of Union Pacific. No,
you would never know that you're a SP fan.
In all fairness, those units are pretty cool. They're from that sort of early 2010s time period where Norfolk Southern was just buying up any EMD 6-axle thing that they could get their hands on. They got those 3 Susquehanna SD70s. They got some SD75s from BNSF. They got these SD60s here. They just got a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it was for the rebuild programs. But a lot of it ran around, for a while before it was shopped.
Yeah. Now, I mean, when you're short of power and you need power, the last thing that you need is time in the paint booth. So that's definitely appropriate for Norfolk Southern modelers or anybody for that matter. Mm-hmm. And you've got the demo version. That's a catchy paint scheme. It's very similar to the Oakway, but
yeah,
we had requests for this one too.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to pick for road names because they're all good choices with the SD60. We can't do them all at once. There's just not that many people that want them at the same time. So if you guys don't see your favorite road name in this group, we will do different road names next time. I know I saw somebody asking for Seaboard, which is, I think, SD50s, but and then someone was asking for Conrail as well. So we look for those in the next group.
And we try to get a good range. I mean, in this run here, we've got Oakway, which was pretty much everywhere. The demonstrators were pretty much everywhere. You've got West Coast into the Midwest, represented by Union Pacific. You've got some South, Southeast, Midwest with Norfolk Southern. All we need now is some Upper Midwest.
Oh, interesting that you say that.
We can't forget the Upper Midwest. Chicago Northwestern, that's always been a popular one. And not only did we release it in 3 road numbers, but we have 2 distinct paint schemes. And we were talking about this earlier. Tell us a little bit about the uniqueness of these paint schemes. These are about the same time, if I remember right?
Roughly contemporary. C&W paint schemes have always confused me. Maybe that's just me, but they started out with what they call the traditional yellow, which was a nice medium normal yellow, and then the dark green, and that was what you saw on all their power up until the 1980s, and that's when they started experimenting with what they called the safety yellow, or the Zito yellow, which was a lot lighter. It almost had a greenish or a whitish tint to it, depending on the time of day that you were looking at it. It tended to vary quite a bit. And they were using that for some time, and then they realized that, hey, this doesn't look very good. And B, this paint is fading too fast on a lot of our engines. And so we're tired of that. So then they switched back to the original yellow, which they now call the old yellow. So the old yellow is the newest yellow, which is the same as the first yellow. So if that doesn't confuse you, I don't know what will. So the 8029 that you see there, that's in the what's called the old yellow. So the latest paint scheme for CNW, whereas the other two are in the Zito. But those units definitely ran together, painted in their different colors. Not all the units got repainted at the same time or even at all. So.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Before we get too far, we've got a question about the Norfolk Southern units. Are they going to include ditch lights?
Well, I think once we get further down in the details there, we'll see the information about that. I don't remember actually off the top of my head, and I don't want to say something and then regret saying it later.
Let's see.
So I think we put down there in the details, and if we didn't, guys, I'll make sure that we go on Facebook and update that information for you.
Yeah, and I think thanks for asking those questions. These are helpful to us. And I saw a comment in there. Do we have any of the Sioux line in the red and white? I'm going to make you cry in a minute. We do have them in the really cool candy apple red, which I remember this scheme. And I remember the first time I saw this scheme, I think it was on an SD60. And they had this scheme right up until Canadian Pacific purchased them. And it looks like we've got this offered in 3 road numbers, so you can make a nice consist of SD60s, and really nice. Now, like I said, I'm going to see if I can get this picture up. I've got a prototype picture that I got a number of years ago. Let me see if I can bring this up real quick.
So you were actually able to shoot those in real life then?
Yeah, I don't think it was all that long ago, but then again, it could have been. It was probably when I first moved to Illinois. Let's see if I can find that picture. Yeah, here it is. And for all of the purists out there of Sioux line, as someone that enjoys the rock and the Boston and Maine and all that, I feel your pain. But let's see. Is that coming up for us? Yeah, there it is. I'm on my way to Galesburg 1. I think this was a real hot, muggy morning, which is why the light is so bad. And this picture is not one of those pictures that you'd want to put in a contest by any means, but it's what I call a cryptozoology picture. At this point in 2017, I wanted to take a picture of it so that when I was bragging to my buddies in Galesburg that I got an SD60, they knew I wasn't lying. So, but this one's already been patched up, and CEFX, you could just barely make out the Sioux line on the long hood.
Just barely.
Yeah. And, well, maybe in a future release we'll do these as the pure red and white. They were still, I want to say too, Janik, wasn't the SD60 one of the last locomotives that got the red and white paint scheme?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was, because then when they started getting the SD60M wide cabs, and those were all in the red. So I think you might be right.
Yeah, that was kind of getting close to the end of CP by themselves. So,
and for those of you that were asking about the ditch lights, I just sent a message to my colleague who actually was the researcher for that project, and we will see what he says when he gets back to me.
Cool. So yeah, once again, some great stuff that we've touched upon today. I mean, the ready to runs, they still have quite a bit of detail for them. They're not a Genesis, but they do have great detail to them. They're perfect for operations night on your layout, or taking to a show, or taking to the club layout. They have the same nice running smooth motors and gear train that the Genesis have. So they, on an operational status, they are just as good as a Genesis. So these are real popular. And like I said, like Janik said earlier, if you didn't see your line, don't worry, we're reading your comments, and we will probably do it eventually. So, yeah, neat week with neat stuff.
I was hoping for Conrail this time too, and I was overruled on that.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Somebody was asking earlier. It's like, hey, Jim's here. He's N scale, so that means more N scale or more, East Coast or whatever. No, not really. We're kind of a committee.
Yeah.
So there are times that Janik and I will be like, yeah, we're all about having this one locomotive, and Matt might be like, no. And other times, Matt and Janik, I mean, we have to look at it to see what kind of sales we can get from that, and also what kind of interest level there is, because we are a pretty diverse group of modelers, so we want to try to get the most impact for everybody. So let's see. Daniel's asking, let's see an Athearn segment on mythological creatures. Rock Island had some. That's funny. So now it's time for our next segment of the show. It's what I'm calling the back shops, and the back shops is basically where the Athearn guys are working on stuff. And Janik, I know you've been busy. You've been telling me about some of your projects. You got something else that you're working on now too, aren't you?
Well, I don't have enough days in the week to share all the projects I'm working on at any given time. But I try to pick something to share today that might be interesting to the viewers. So if I could get Jim to share my screen here, and then we can get started with that one. Okay, so a lot of you probably know what this is, and if you don't, this is an Athearn SW1500 or SW1000 chassis, and the motor that we put in these things up until recently was a Mishima. And I don't know if any of you guys have ever run one of these, but I remember I got one, and it was like 2010, and it just ran so nice. It was quiet. It didn't draw any current. It was smooth, and I was like, wow, this is a great motor. I want to buy more of these things, and I did. I own way more switchers than I could ever possibly use. So that ties into this project that I'm working on now, which I will show here. Now, there's a lot going on in this photo, but what I want to focus on here is the motor. Those of you who know your train stuff probably say, wait a minute, that's not an Athearn. Well, you're right. This is a Proto 2000 Alco FA. And when I got it, it was undecorated, and I'll get to the decoration in a bit here. This is one that I did up for the Train Club Home Railroad here. But when I got it, it was undecorated, and I painted it up, and I installed DCC and sound in it. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to go all out with this thing. It's going to be neat. And when I tried to run it, it just ran like complete, like the worst running engine I've ever had. Honestly, it was herky, it was jerky. It wouldn't run at all below speed step 8. And I was just like, what's the matter with this thing? I tore the whole thing apart. I replaced the trucks. I replaced all the gears. I replaced every driveline component that you can think of. And that didn't make a bit of difference. And then I even went so far as to replace the motor. So as you see here, this might be the only Proto 2000 FA that is powered by a Mishima out of an Athearn SW1500. And it runs really nice. I just kind of stuck it in there for some silicone. And so anyway, the funny part of that story is that I did the whole motor swap thing and it still ran terrible. And I even replaced the decoder on it and it still ran terrible. I was like, there's nothing left. Oh, the DCC circuit board had a loose wire and it was kind of dangling there. It might have been touching one of the other wires on it. And that was the problem. So I soldered that up nice. Now the thing runs great. Here's what it looks like so far with the shell back on it. California Southern is the name of the railroad at our train club in Norwalk. And paint scheme is based off of the California Northern scheme with a couple slight modifications. And so there you see so far what I did on the nose. I had to cut those stripes and it wasn't too fun, but I made it work. And so, yeah, she's coming along and we'll see how it goes from here. So back to you, Jim.
That looks pretty good. I like what you did there. And so you've basically given new life to an older locomotive. And I mean, once again, I mean, we're all modelers here. I mean, we have all kinds of different things that we're working on at any one time. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm always working on something. And, you know, the funny thing is where you're showing me what you did with that unit kind of got me thinking. And if you guys are familiar with Ken Patterson, he does What's Neat This Week in Model Railroading. He's been doing that show for a couple of years now, a number of years. And it's kind of if you haven't checked it out, you should check out What's Neat This Week in Model Railroading. It's a very entertaining, usually about a half hour, 45-minute broadcast on YouTube. And it's a round robin type, what people are working on, what's new. And actually Athearn, we're a sponsor as well as Soundtracks as a sponsor. So you get a chance to check it out. But Ken was showing this past week a little bit about the Athearn website. And it reminded me, you know, it's one of those things, you know, Janek, I don't know if I can speak for you, but you tell me, is it ever gotten to the point where you're so close to something that you forget about something? You're so used to doing it that you forget there's other ways of doing it?
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone learned how to do something a certain way, and they get fixated on that, and then they see something else, and you're like, well, wow, that works too. I never even knew that you could do it that way.
Exactly. And so what I wanted to show with you today, I'm going to share my screen again, and I'm going to bring up the Athearn website. And there you have it. You can see it there on your screen. And Janek and I are going to exit stage left. And so one of the things that you may or may not know about the Athearn website is traditionally you come to the website and you're excited about a Genesis locomotive. So you're going to, okay, I want HO, I want diesel locomotive. I want to go down to F2. Oh, there's nothing in stock. Okay, well, all right, forget about that. Well, if you're like any of us, I know where I'm doing N scale, I might want to know what's in stock right now. Can I get it through my dealer? Can I call my dealer with a part number and get that ordered? Have they arrived yet? Anything of that nature. And you know how it is. We announce a lot of these products a year in advance. And most of us anyways sleep between now and then. So we want to kind of remind ourselves if we, you know, what's out there right now. So case in point, let's say, you know, I'm working on an N-scale project right now. What I do is I go to the advanced search, select that, and let's see, I'm going to change it up. Actually, I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm actually working on an HO scale modular layout. So, you know, I want a Genesis locomotive, and let's see. I think I want a diesel locomotive, and I want to see what's in stock right now. So just a few little segments there, search products, and bam, there you have it. Now, what's even better is, yeah, I'm from the East Coast, but I really like Illinois Central. Let's see what's in stock for Illinois Central. And by going there, I see, hey, we got some SD70s in stock. Another thing too is like what Janik was working on, and again, a lot of us do kit bashing. Some of us still like to detail our locomotives or do something that hasn't been produced by us, at least not yet. So we all know that the Genesis locomotives and a lot of the ready to roll have everything from really nice features of motors to detail parts. So in this case, I'll select Genesis, and I'm going to go with replacement parts. And again, I'll go into in stock. And by searching that, I can retrofit my older Athearn locomotive with LED bulbs now. We have side frame assemblies. We've got truck assemblies. Even if you're doing the big time scratch building things, we've got the different types of beacons available for you to order. All weather windows. These are just a few of the things that you can get. So for the guys out there that like to super detail their older locomotives or a locomotive that hasn't been offered, you can do this. And you can find the part numbers here. If we go to the prime air conditioner, if you've got a local dealer, you can give him this part number and he can go ahead and order it through Athearn. You can also order directly from the website as well. So something to remember. And the funny thing is, I'm so close to it. I just forgot about it until Ken reminded me, and I'm like, Ken, that's why we like to advertise with you, because you bring this kind of thing to light. A lot of us forget, frankly, and so at some point, definitely check that out. It comes in handy if you're doing something like what Janik's working on, and that includes motors too. So any of those spare parts, or if you want to know certain boxcars that are in stock, you can do that as well. Now, what have I been working on? I kind of alluded to it earlier. I
heard you say the word HO scale.
Yeah. Me and the other N scale guys used to say that stood for horribly oversized. But now
I've heard them all.
Yeah. But now my eyes don't really say that anymore because I have a hard time seeing N scale. And the problem is, especially with the Athearn products, the N scale keeps getting better and better with detail. I just can't see it anymore. So yes, you are right. I am working on an HO scale project, and it is for it is going to be for Athearn. Actually, I'm kind of using it for a well, I'm hoping when we go back to shows and stuff, we can actually start seeing that again. That's not it, obviously. I don't have an SD60 in my backyard.
You're not working on an SD60?
Everybody should have one in their backyard. So let's see. That should come up now.
You're working on something that could be used as a photo backdrop, right?
It's going to be more than just a photo backdrop. It's actually going to be used as a functioning layout. So here it is, and I'll minimize this. Now, this isn't anything major. It's not like I reinvented the wheel or anything. Very similar to a Fremo type 4-foot module. A little bit more narrow, 18 inches. But yeah, hopefully in the future you'll see this behind me instead of the random pieces that make up the old farmhouse I live in. And every time we've got a new release, we can go ahead and show that. So this is real simple. It's all Baltic birch plywood, 3/4 inch ends for clamping to 1/2 inch sides. And much like a model airplane wing, there's 1/4 inch ply stringers with holes drilled through it so that wires can go through and things of that nature. And then it's sandwiched with 2-inch styrofoam and then hardboard fascia board. So hopefully, well, not hopefully, you will see it at the end of the month because something big's going to happen. And that's all I'm going to say about that. And then for the project layout that will be behind me, I'm not getting any older, and I don't think a lot of us are, but one of the biggest problems I've always had with modules was going to a show and leveling it. And how many times do we get on the ground? We're crawling on the ground. We're trying to get the legs centered. I got lazy. Now my legs are light. They're 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch Baltic birch, shaped as an L girder. And there's 2 blocks there, and I'm using a 9-inch long carriage bolt fed up from the bottom with a lock nut on the top, so that when this is up on the module, I just put a socket wrench on the top there, and I can adjust it up or down. Now I still have to get on the floor, but I don't have to lie down on the floor as before. And then that 2-inch pocket that you see there, the reason why I did that is just so that I can retract that in almost like an airplane landing gear, and these will kind of sandwich together 2 legs by themselves and only take up a 2-inch by 2-inch square. So that like, is just...
You found a better way to do things than maybe what we had thought of doing previously.
What was that? I don't remember.
Oh, well, like my legs, it's just a solid piece of wood with the carriage bolt stuck in the bottom of it, and I have constant issues with the bolt falling out because the nut that holds it is always falling out. So your system there looks like it's going to be a lot more reliable.
We'll see. I mean, I always say, in my case anyways, laziness is the inspiration for creativity. And I'm lazy. So rather than doing exactly what a lot of us have done, my last N-scale layout, the Galesburg City job, did feature exactly what you were talking about. And it really did okay, but there's always a better way to do it. And the cool thing is now that I've shared it, somebody else might come to me and say, I've got a better idea, which is cool. And Joel Ashcroft says, sandwich is Taco Tuesday. You are right. I usually have tacos and nachos. You guys are talking, making me hungry now. One last thing real quickly, and we're going to go for a ride. I'll try not to make you all seasick. Yes, I am working on an N-scale layout, and I'm going to try to position myself right here. This guy here is my newest N-scale layout. The Galesburg City job, I've kind of retired. And this is going to be a New England 1970s switching layout. And I did it in a shadow box just because it hopefully, presents better when we get to go back to shows. So, fun stuff. We do this stuff even when we're not at work. We're doing this kind of stuff. So... One more thing before we go to a little bit of rail fanning and some Q&A, something I wanted to let you guys know of what's going on. We've got some new locomotives that just came into stock, and I'm going to try to position here. And Janik, I'm going to minimize you just for a second. And I'm going to try to do this. Hopefully in the future, we'll actually have a video camera. But here, I'll just set this down because I'm making you guys seasick. All right. So the MKT, the KDF units are in stock. We had a Facebook post, I believe Monday, on this locomotive. These are in stock. They just came into stock, and these are Genesis, of course, so they have all those details. It's really hard to show because the camera just does not do these locomotives justice. The ones that I'm really excited about and also kind of bummed out about because I missed them, these should be at your dealers now. This is the Pacific Pride 2, the GP38-2 Burlington Northern with all the cool logos, kind of partial to the CB&Q one myself. These are in stock. These are Genesis. We've got it in the Pacific Pride 2. And we've also got the other cool paint scheme that Deanne had, the white face with a nice white pinstripe on the side. Again, these are both Genesis. The DCC only ones are still in stock at Athearn.com, but the Sound and DCC is completely out. So if you didn't pre-order one of these, make sure to contact your dealer now, because they're not going to last long. These 38-2s are just great running, great looking locomotives.
I've always liked the white face, and whenever I see a patch BNSF, I'm always hoping that it's a white face instead of a regular BN.
Yeah, it's amazing how just that little bit of, like the little white stripe on the side really, I don't know, classed up that paint scheme. I've always been kind of partial to Cascade Green anyways, but that's something that I've always liked. So we've got some time now. What do you guys say if we do some Q&A? Again, we try to get as many as we can, but you guys, there's a lot of you guys out there. We really appreciate you showing up. Try to get those questions answered. If there's something that we missed, you can always contact us later by email, and we can talk to you then about it. But let's go ahead, and while we get some questions, I'm going to we're going to go to Florida, because I don't know about you, Janet. Here in Illinois, it's not that great. It needs to get warmer, so we're going to go ahead and go to Florida.
It's not too bad here, but Florida's probably pretty nice.
I would hope so.
As long as it's not a hurricane going on or something.
I would hope not. The only danger I foresee right now is action. I don't see a lot of action going on right now, so we'll keep watching. Meanwhile, we're going to watch for you all to ask some questions, and we're going to do our best to answer them. So if you're ready, Janik, I'm ready.
Well, I think the first one is the ditch lights on the SD60s, which I wasn't able to answer before. I did receive an answer for that from my colleague, and he said that unfortunately the tooling on the SD60 does not accommodate ditch lights, but he said that we are including them in the box for those roads that prototypically should have had them. Working ditch lights will be included in the box for those modelers that wish to install them after they purchase the model.
Good to know. And again, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we want to hear. We want to see what you guys are asking for, and we do our best to get those answers back to you as soon as we can. Looking at some stuff here. Hey, here's a cool comment from Daniel Archer. How about some Kansas City Southern Genesis F7 and GP7s in the later white paint scheme?
Yeah, I think in the SNC units, yeah, we've done those maybe once or twice, but anytime that we do, they sell out real quick. And KCS white Jeeps, I don't think we've ever done. So
I don't.
Yeah,
this one is for you.
That'd be a good one.
Where did you get that cool T-shirt? I agree, Sean. That is a wicked cool T-shirt.
I just was Googling railroad-related T-shirts, and I found a store that had this one and some other cool stuff too. And so I'll go find that, and I'll let you guys know next week. I won't take my time and do it now in the middle of the video.
Let's see. Terry, it's time for the Ford guy to ignore the weekly request for GM trucks. No, Terry, we're not ignoring you. Last week, we got a lot of comments, and I did see, I think Terry and another person asking for GM trucks. Would actually love to do some GM stuff. We have a lot of Ford, Mack, and things of that nature. It usually comes down to licensing. Now, that being said, I have been told GM has gotten better with their licensing than in years past. And, take it from a Ford guy. I could use some GM stuff on my layout too, because it looks kind of weird if you just have, International and Ford and stuff of that nature. So, can't promise anything right now, but we're always looking into getting more maintenance away vehicles, all that kind of stuff. So definitely, we're seeing your comments, and we're trying to make this hobby better for everybody involved.
Yeah, that licensing can be quite the hassle at times, and I think I'm just going to leave it at that.
Let's see.
I saw a couple people commenting. I just saw Nathan Overmeyer reminded me about it as well. That there's some information missing from the website, especially for older stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's asking for the historical release information.
Yeah, we didn't take that down. That decision was made without our consultation. However, we have been working with the web team to try and get that information back, and it's been a process. It's not all back yet. There's still some stuff that's missing. If you do notice something that's missing specifically, feel free to let us know so that we can try to get that addressed.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Ward is asking, Athern, Canadian Pacific military units, please.
Is that the weekly SD70 ACU comment, I'm guessing?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we didn't ignore it, but yeah, I think maybe that is. You seem to get that.
Yep. Well,
let's see. What do you see any other comments out there, Janik, or questions? There's a lot of good stuff coming in. It's hard to choose. I think, let me see if I can find it again, because the comments are coming in quick. I don't know if we were talking about this or not. Tim Peters is asking about MKT chop nose Jeeps. Was that something that we were talking about, or was I just dreaming?
It could have been. Tim, I got to look into those. We have some chop nose bodies. There are certain versions that we can and cannot do. So I'll have to look at the MKTs and see if we can do them. Matt Martin, Copper Basin GP39-2s. What about Copper Basin SD39s? Those would be cool too. Just saying.
Yeah. This is almost becoming weekly too. I'll just put it up there. Mr. Martin says Genesis GP38s and 40s, just straights, no -2s.
Yeah, I've heard that one a lot too.
That's one that we hear a lot of, and yeah, I mean that would definitely open the door for all kinds of different roads and eras. But yeah, we'd have to take a look. I mean, you guys haven't seen Matt lately. That's because once in a while we let him out on every other Tuesday, I think it is.
Well, and speaking of stuff that we should be looking at, Sam McAllister at 223 is asking about 6-axle U-boats as well as -7s. And I'm with you on that one, Sam. I think there's a need. I think we've identified a need. And I think we are deciding how to proceed with that one, because I need BM, I need Santa Fe, I need Conrail, I need them all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely would be a cool release. Any of those, I'd be happy too. Let's see. I saw somebody asking about Matt here a second ago. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is.
Hmm.
He's saying because Matt is working on those SD9s. That's funny. I can tell you he is working on an.
He's working his butt off on.
Yeah.
Seems like it's something different every day.
Yeah, he's definitely busy.
See. There was one. Thomas Albin, when is the next special announcement planned?
Soon.
Well, isn't that going to be November, right? That's what we want you guys.
Yeah, October 30th. Mark your
Yeah.
calendars. It's going to be
Save the date.
big shoe. A big shoe.
And I've already seen a lot of comments about what we will be talking about on October 30th. So there's going to be some people that are happy about it.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of happy folks out there in model railroad land. Let me see. There is a lot of good stuff coming through here. Seeing anything? It looks like the Prime for Grime series that we do. That's still popular with you guys. Thank you for those comments. I mean, that's an idea that came up because we're modelers. I mean, we want to make things as accurate as possible and make it easy for you to make it as accurate as possible.
Let's see. Donnell M. Wells, will you ever update the SD40-2 dynamic brake hatch? Well, Donnell, pardon my ignorance. What needs to be updated on the hatch? What can we do to improve it? Let us know in the comments. I know it's not exactly state-of-the-art tooling on that model, so it probably could be any number of things going on with it. I haven't looked into it myself, though.
Let's see. Another vote for Jeep 9 low hoods or chop hoods. We get a lot of requests for that every week. So, yeah, we see them, and we're always working on something. We can't let all of the secrets out just yet.
Yeah. And for Mr. Gregory Mostardi, I plan on following up with your inquiry. So we do see your comments. We see them all as they appear, and we won't get to all of them right now, but I do take action on a lot of them. So
yeah, definitely. I mean, to kind of back up what Janek's saying is not only just on the live broadcast, but even when we post stuff on social media, Janek is really good about seeing anything from issues to questions. He'll get back to you, or one of us will get back to you. More times than not, it's Janek, just because he has the information usually on the top of his head, I swear. But yeah, Gregory, we see your concerns, and we'll definitely reach out to you.
Having the information is a blessing and a curse. Everyone coming to me with their questions.
Okay, I'm going to show my bias here for a second. Gary's my new best friend. SD45 and UP as delivered, but here's where he's got me. The CB&Q green with hockey stick. This is really cool. This was, and actually, if we ever did a GP40, I'd want us to do the CB&Q in the experimental scheme. So for those that don't know, before the merger, CB&Q took their SD45s among some other locomotives. They painted them Cascade green. They put this hockey stripe on them, and they didn't say Burlington Northern or anything. They just said Burlington, but it was kind of a prototype paint scheme for the upcoming railroad. And I've always liked that paint scheme. I see why they didn't end up doing it in the past, but I don't know. I'm going to go with his suggestion at the next meeting. I would like to see that.
You're going to take his suggestion seriously?
Yep. I'm going to take it seriously.
All right. I see some interesting requests for things like a LORAM rail grinder and maintenance away equipment. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. That stuff it can be a tough sell for us when you're a guy buying a LORAM rail grinder. You probably don't need more than one, probably for your entire layout. So with something like that, it makes it tough when you're cutting metal for injection molding. But I think, personally, the future of 3D printing is really bright for stuff like that. And between you and me, Jim, I hope that Athearn can possibly dip our toes in that sometime in the future.
Yeah, that would be really nice, because not only could we do a lot of different things, because as we all know, I mean, just look at the release in the GP39-2s, how much work you went through seeing the different versions of that. And I think we even had a question last week about somebody asking about the as delivered D&H, and we couldn't do those because of some tooling issues. But in the future, that might not be so hard for us. And of course, your turnaround time would be better too. So let's hope for that.
And the quality on those things is getting better every day. Some of the stuff that they're putting out is comparable to injection molding. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. I mean, it's a good time to be a model railroader, because we're seeing things that were not possible in the past, either by manufacturers like Athearn or Shapeways, things of that nature being produced. And it definitely makes it easier to be a prototype modeler than it was 20 years ago.
Definitely.
Brian's asking, he's looking for more modern post-2000 cars, pickups, trucks. Again, it usually comes into play with licensing, but it's something that we're always looking into. When we have a project slot open up that we can devote some time to that, we might look into that. But I understand it's not quite as bad as it used to be, but when I first got into model railroading, it seemed like all the HO scale cars were Corvettes, Mustangs, and cars that not everybody had every single day. So we're definitely open to more maintenance away type trucks and everyday family type vehicles.
Definitely. I see one more that I wanted to call out. James Galton, I hope I'm saying that correctly. TH&B GP9, GP7. James, if you wanted to take my advice, check back later this year. I think you'll be happy, because we're working on more Jeep 9s. And actually, I got this here sitting in front of me. This Diesel Era right here, which is a great magazine.
Yes.
It almost makes my job easy. I won't say it does, but I mean, you can look at the subject material there and you can form your own conclusions.
That is so true. It's never exactly easy, but it makes it a little bit easier.
Definitely.
Let's see.
Well, it's about 2:35. You want to take a couple more?
Yeah, we'll take a couple of more, and then we'll wrap this up. Let you guys get back to your modeling or whatever it is you're working on today. But yeah, let's see. Do you see some interesting comments or questions you want to address there, Janet?
Oh, I see. My buddy Keenan Menard there wants some more Ontario Northwind stuff. I wish we could do the Jeep 38s, Keenan. We're missing a couple of key components to do those correctly. So I don't want to do them half-baked, but maybe there's some other stuff that we could do in the future, like, I don't know, FP7s or something.
Corey's got a question specifically for you, Janet. I'll put it up here for you. He's looking for Jeep 30.
2.8 30 for chassis or some WM F7 sets. Corey, if you're looking for Western Maryland, what paint scheme are you looking for, and what version? Because they had a few, so let me know.
Richie says more SD70M. That's kind of like more cowbell.
Yeah, it's just something.
Yeah, I think he'll be happy soon. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, if you're looking for specific roads, let us know. Paint schemes, especially if it's something that we've done before, that we can just do another run of. I mean, that's entirely doable. I can make a commitment to you right here that we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, because believe it or not, we have meetings and we talk about different releases and what we want to do, what paint schemes we want to do, what roads. And I mean, it changes just like everything. Some years Conrail's a popular one. Some years SP's the popular. People's tastes change and things of that nature. But definitely keep the comments coming, because we do look at those comments. We bring it up and say, hey, you know what? We've gotten a lot of comments on this particular locomotive and this paint scheme. Or, it's impossible for any of us to know everything about every locomotive in the whole wide world. So you might know something that hasn't even gone across our radar. And those type of emails with those kind of pictures are always appreciated.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we have a lot of nice sources for a lot of information, but a lot of you are involved with various historical societies, or maybe you're a photographer yourself in some cases, and you've shot these things before we've even heard that they exist. So we're always open to getting material from outside sources.
Well, we had a really good crowd today. I think we had a better crowd on our live feed than Florida had trains. So
Well,
I don't even see a headlight there.
I was looking at that little outbuilding right there on the right, and maybe if you get bored, you can go in there and watch some TV. I think they have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess Tuesdays. When I rail fan, Tuesday's not usually the day. I usually go Friday or something. But yeah, this one was kind of slow, so we'll have to see if we use this one again. And guys, there's another thing. You got a suggestion about the show? If there's something you want to see us cover or talk about, or even just a suggestion for a rail fan spot, shoot us an email, shoot us a comment in the comment section. Love to hear from you. I think that about wraps it up, don't you, Janet?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, we really enjoy seeing you guys' comments and suggestions. Of course, we have our own suggestions for ourselves, but sometimes we're a little bit biased, and we only want to do Boston and Maine, or we only want to do Kodachrome stuff. And it's nice to branch out a little bit now and then and hear some of these other ideas.
Most definitely. Well, Janik, while you're out there on the West Coast, stay safe with everything that's going on with the wildfires and everything. I hope you and the guys out west are staying healthy. And to all of our viewers today that came by and stopped and said hi, thank you for the questions. Thanks for coming in and seeing our stuff. Be sure to tune in next week, same time at 3:30 on Tuesday. And we're going to talk about some other exciting releases and probably some updates on stuff that we're working on after hours. So until next week, be healthy, be safe, and high greens, everybody.
See you guys later.